Today we're going to talk about an introvert's guide to how to become more extroverted. This is really important if you would like to be a social human being, which we are naturally, but most of us suck at it. So if you want to get good at talking to people, making new friends, I don't know, having a family, not being a complete sociopath, if any of this sounds interesting to you, then let's hop into it. I have some very practical ways in which you can become much more extroverted and enjoy the fruits of inviting people into your life. Welcome back. My name is Andrew Love, and at Whole Goals, it is my job to help you reclaim your mind, heart, body, and soul in order to create harmony. Harmony allows you to do what it is you were born to do. You cannot enjoy life unless you have harmony. You cannot be mentally free and emotionally a slave and claim to be happy at all. So today, I want to really talk to all of you out there who are introverts. I know what it's like, okay? I really know what it's like to have all these things that you want to say, but feel like you don't know how to speak. It's like, I definitely spoke to my parents, to some of my close friends growing up, but there were so many instances where I felt like a mute, like the people were asking in class, do you have any ideas? And I would have one, but I would be too shy to raise my hand. Or there were so many opportunities of meeting new friends or doing something cool because I was so stifled by my introversion, okay? And so the first thing that I want to bring up is know that I don't think anybody qualifies as 100% introverted or 100% extroverted. We're all a mixture of both. And it's important to know what is your compound. Like, are you 60% introverted and 40% extroverted? Some key indicators are this, okay? I'm probably 60 to 65% introverted, which means there's a part of me that loves to go out and meet people, that can have the bandwidth to meet new people. I do public speaking, for a living, and after an event, I have a ton of people coming to me, so I can do it, but it takes a lot of effort and it drains me. After an event, after I go to some social engagement, I need to come back to a place of solace and unwind. Otherwise, I become cranky. Even with my family, like I have 3 little kids, I have a wife, they love telling me everything, especially sometimes I have all 3 boys telling me stuff at the same time, and I really feel it. It's hard for me to process. So even with my own family, what I've learned is I need to wake up before everybody and meditate and prepare for them in order to really process them and take them all in, because they all have energy. And they all have so much to say, so my eyes and all my senses are taking a lot in. So I know that I can survive this, but I have to prepare for it. If you're more extroverted, what happens is you get fueled up when you hang out with people. I have this one friend that after an event, we've done events together, I'll go and hide in a corner. I will try to make myself as invisible as possible, and he will run and try to meet as many people as possible. And after the event, if we've done our respective things that we feel inclined to do, then we're happy. We'll meet up after I've hidden and he's talked to everybody, and we're energized and we're happy and we're ready to go. So the first thing is to really look at what percentage are you, because that's gonna define a lot of what you do next. Now again, this is not a judgment. It doesn't matter what percentage you are. You can change this to some degree or not, but you have some pretty deep wiring in terms of what really puts you in an optimal state. If you are introverted by nature, like let's say I'm about 60%, I've lived a life where I've completely had very little time by myself, and I was able to survive, but I really was, it was like walking a tightrope, because every day I had to really find any spare moment just to kind of breathe and center myself. But I function best when I have about 40% of my life where I can kind of work by myself, be by myself. Even my working environment, I make sure, and if you're an introvert, you will notice this, it's not helpful to be in a really bustling, busy working space all the time. Introverts often are very easily distracted by a lot of noises around, and you work better just in solitude, like in your own little cave. You can produce because you can kind of get lost in your own head. Extroverts love the hustle and bustle. They love, working in a train station or in a coffee shop or whatever because they just get fed by this energy. I, again, can do that for a little bit, maybe a couple hours in the day, but I could never have a productive workday if I was just really in a busy, loud space. So again, find out what percentage you are. The next thing, if you want to overcome some of the limiting, introversion that you have and kind of expand your bandwidth for extroversion, a key thing to note is that you're focusing too much on yourself and you're stuck in your head. You're thinking, so you're going out and you're meeting people, but you're like, what is this person gonna think of me? Or I don't wanna talk to this person, or you start to get really tense. It's because you're thinking about you. You're thinking about, and nobody wants to go out and meet a bunch of people who are just thinking about themselves. You can go to Hollywood for that. I lived in Hollywood for a bit. Everybody's just like, I'm working on this. I like this. Me. And you're like, oh God, it's so draining to hear somebody talking about themselves. If you really want to connect with people, first you have to experience them. You have to see them. You have to hear them. You have to care about them. And that means going up to them. This is a key trick if you want to be good at public speaking, but also if you want to meet people and be better at interpersonal skills. You need to stop thinking about yourself and start thinking about them. So when you look at somebody and say, hey, I'd like to meet them, don't think about the coolest line that you could say or like a good icebreaker. Just go up to them and try to take them in and try to make it about them. That's really powerful, because if somebody comes up to you and the first thing they say is something that really resonates with you because they're looking at you, they're taking you in. They could say something specifically to you like, I noticed that you were walking with a limp. Did you hurt yourself? That's kind of weird and vulnerable. But you could try that. Like when you get specific and you notice, you observe things about people or you've studied about them or whatever, and you make it about them. I've done this many times. You go up to somebody, I've gone up to somebody and said, hey, I just wanted to say, you seem like a very approachable person. You seem like a really warm, nice person, and I just felt like I could talk to you because you're inviting. Like, it's really nice for me to be able to talk. It's not easy for me to talk to people, and here I am talking to you. And I think it's something because of how you are. You're just like a really nice seeming person. So it's not a contrived compliment. If you come up to people, you observe who they are and you make note of it and you present it, or you bring up something relevant to that person if you know something about them. So again, if you're thinking about you, then it's a really draining energy for other people. If you're outward focused, they warm up, they open up their mind. They're like, wow, this person's looking at me. They think about me. They're feeling about me. And then they give you something back in return, unless they're in a bad mood or they're just a negative person or they're just going through a phase or whatever. But the typical person in a social environment, if you observe them and speak to them where they're at, they'll deeply appreciate it. But understand this is the third point, is it takes practice, okay? In any social environment, and you're introverted by nature, you're gonna wanna talk to people, but there's gonna be something holding you back, and you have to kind of push yourself out of that modality. And the way that you do that is by practicing. You make a goal, okay, I'm gonna talk to 3 new people tonight. And it's gonna be the first 3 people that I see, or it's gonna be the 3 most interesting people I see, or whatever the case may be. But just know that the more you practice, the easier it gets. Just like anything, you're building muscle. What is that muscle? It's confidence. It's getting out of your own way. Getting stuck in your own head and getting into other people's world is a practice. So just know that regardless, it's going to be a little bit clunky in the beginning. There's going to be some awkward pauses. There's going to be some just general awkwardness, some kind of tense moments. But just breathe. Just breathe and know it's all going to be okay. And just keep on practicing. The next point that I'd like to really mention is practicing being okay with a little bit of silence. So many of us, especially the introverts, we panic at the moment of silence because we interpret that as like a bad thing. So we fill in awkward moments with nervous laughter. Like you say, hey, I really like your shirt, and somebody goes, oh, thanks. And then you go, and then you look like a psychopath. It's just like, breathe it in, move on to the next thing. Like just relax, breathe. It's just another person. okay? Just breathe and enjoy the silence. Doesn't mean like make everything really awkward and like just don't say anything. Just walk up to somebody and just go. No, but just be like, hey, how's it going? And then if there's awkward silence, be like, or I noticed that there was an awkward silence. You can talk about it, it's okay, but just don't freak out. Don't start to tense up. Just relax and breathe. And here's the most important part. I learned this from somebody I love dearly, somebody in my life, that if you ask really good questions, if you get good at learning what that person cares about, what they think about the world, and digging deep and asking the questions without guiding the conversation in a certain direction, without some ulterior motives, just learning about that person by asking good questions. What's a good question? It's something that causes them to think. It's asking them good follow-up questions is like something that's actually relevant to what they just said, and asking more clarifying information. And when you do this, what you're doing is you're showing that you care and that you're actually interested in what they have to say. That creates rapport, familiarity, because they're slowly letting you into their world. And so when you get good at asking questions, again, I know a person who's so good at this, and this guy will ask questions that he already has heard the answer to from other people, but he wants to hear it from that person because he genuinely wants to hear that person's perspective. So I'll sometimes hear him ask the most remedial, ridiculous questions, but he's just kind of getting to know the person and getting to hear their thoughts. And so again, if you're already like, oh, I know what this person's gonna say, they're gonna get that from you. They're gonna get that vibe from you. But if you're just good at asking questions and waiting for a response, you empty out by asking the question, and you hear what they have to say, you're gonna create a really nice dynamic. But if you ask a question and you already have an answer and you wanna tell them your perspective and all that, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel nice. So really, honestly, the key to social interaction and getting better at being extroverted is getting outside of yourself. Again, when you approach people, you take them in and you ask them about themselves and you listen. And you ask good follow-up questions and you're observant about them. When you do this, you will get so naturally good at people, it's unbelievable. Because a lot of introverts, our perspective is, oh, I have to be good at talking, I have to smell good, I have to do all these things in order to be a good networker. No, if you want to be a really good, effective communicator, just be interested in people. Just ask them good questions and give them your attention and you watch. Everybody wants to say something, but there's so few people who are willing to listen. If you can be that person, then you become very valuable to their life. And that doesn't mean to be somebody's doormat, but what I'm talking about is building rapport. If they're like a healthy person, then they're eventually gonna ask you about yourself, and then you can share your opinions. But it's amazing if you don't have any preconceptions about what you want to tell somebody, and you just want to hear about them, how much they'll want to in turn hear about you. When they're empty, when their cup is empty, they're going to want to be filled up with you, and then they'll be super interested in you. So these are all really basic, but if you can master these, you will be so much better at meeting new people. And as an introvert, I know it's like I have to practice this all the time. If somebody comes up to me and starts asking me about me, I can share easily. But I have such a hard time initiating conversations with strangers. I tense up, and so I just have to practice. And if you see yourself from other people's shoes and just say, well, what would it be like if somebody was really interested in me and they were just really nice without any conditions? It feels so nice. Because when it happens to me, I'm so happy. So why don't I just reciprocate that by giving that to somebody else? I hope this helps. When you do this, you will feel so much more free. You'll be able to understand that you can meet people anywhere, anytime, and you'll be able to create rapport in any environment because you don't worry about you don't worry about the outcome, you're just worried about them. You're concerned, you're caring about them. Just watch what happens. Watch the magic that happens, the cool people that you meet, how much they'll appreciate you because you appreciated them. It's truly amazing. It's a superpower that so many of us don't use because the confident people just talk about themselves and then shy people just think about themselves. Everybody's just thinking about themselves. If you just be the one person in the room who's learning how to care and to listen to other people, you'll become the star of the room. Not because you're big and fancy, but because you're representing somebody who's creating harmony in any environment. and that's deeply needed in this world. Hope this helped. If you like this content and you want more, let me know. You can subscribe, you can write a comment below, you can do all the things that people do online. But I just want to say thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.